Good afternoon. Thank you for being here as part of this university forum to discuss Senate Bill 11. I'd like to begin by reading just an extract from that bill. In reading the comments from the survey that we collected, I do believe there's some confusion, and so let me begin by just reading a piece of this bill. After consulting with students, staff, and faculty of the institution regarding the nature of the student population, specific safety considerations, and the uniqueness of the campus environment, the president or other chief executive officer of an institution of higher education in this state shall establish reasonable rules, regulations, or other provisions regarding the carrying of concealed handguns by license holders on the campus of the institution or on premises located on the campus of the institution. The president or officer may not establish provisions that generally prohibit or have the effect of generally prohibiting license holders from carrying concealed handguns on the campus of the institution. The president or officer may amend the provisions as necessary for campus safety. So I just wanted to make sure that we'd all heard that part of the bill. And now let me describe the manner in which we'll conduct these proceedings. Those who are going to provide comments are located on the left. They'll be allowed 2 minutes to make comments or to ask questions. I have here on the front row the other members of the university task force. If I can't answer the question, I'll defer to my colleagues. So, with that said, let me again thank you for being here. As you can tell in the bill, it's very important that we have your input, and that's why we're here today. We will also have 4 more focus group meetings, and you can find the location of those meetings on the website. You can go to the Provost page for the Campus Carry website and see where those focus group meetings will occur. With that said, I'll defer to the first person.
Here you go, right down. Sorry about this. Hello. Rich Meek, faculty member. I can almost not believe I'm here doing this, but I did want to speak up and with at least one man's voice. There seems to be a lot of feeling that the new campus carry law is enticing or providing for a lot of hotheads to influx our campus with legal or otherwise carrying guns. It was interesting at one of our faculty meetings in the last month, it was reported by one member that one of our campus security speculated that on a given day we probably already have several hundred students carrying on this campus. And we don't know about it, it's concealed carry. What I like about this law is that this has to do simply with concealed carry licensed people, not with anybody else. And they have gone through, at least my experience and the people I've dealt with, they have gone through classes that have dealt extensively with the legality of carrying, the responsibility of carrying, and some of them take the class and realize it's not for them. What we have seen, however, is statistically, those that have licenses that are concealed licensed CHL holders have demonstrated a maturity and responsibility far beyond the average populace. In a very simple statement, I feel very strongly that we should not have gun-free zones on campus. We should allow CHL holders free access. This is going to be a deterrent to those who would be carrying on campus who should not be. And personally, as a faculty member, I feel much more secure and safe knowing that I may have 1 or 2 concealed carriers in my classroom, that if there was ever a bit of violence to be perpetrated, that it would not get out of hand. Thank you.
My name is Christopher Smith. I'm a tenured full professor of musicology, director of the Vernacular Music Center. I'm a 16-year veteran of Texas Tech University. I'm the recipient of numerous campus and international awards for teaching, research, and creative activity. Usually I'm standing on this stage talking to 500 recruits during orientation week and their families and assuring them how safe this campus is. I am adamantly opposed to campus carry. I believe that it is an infringement of my students' right to academic freedom. There are statistical and anecdotal evidence that supports my stance, but I oppose campus carry as an implicit threat of intimidation. I am an ex-bouncer. I have taken weapons away from people. I have acted to prevent impulsive gun violence. I do not believe that it is part of my job as a university faculty member, and I believe that gun-free zones are essential for the free and full exchange of ideas. This is an issue of academic freedom and campus population safety.
My name is Jacob Reynolds, and I'm a graduate teaching student in the Texas Tech School of Music. As a native of Lubbock, Texas, I grew up around guns. I was fortunate to have been raised by parents who understood the necessity of firearm safety training and was raised to appreciate both the usefulness and the danger implicit to these tools. To this day, I have no fear of firearms, and I support the constitutional right for citizens of the United States to own them. However, during my time as both an undergraduate student and master's candidate here at Texas Tech, I have witnessed firsthand the emotional and mental stress that academia places on students, faculty, and staff at our university. I've witnessed my own colleagues and professors with whom I've collaborated and studied under, sometimes for more than half of my life, threatened to be shot on anonymous student message boards. I myself, as a four-year op-ed columnist with the Daily Toreador in my undergrad, was threatened multiple times for publishing views on issues that would be considered contrary to the politically conservative politics of the geography in which we live. This sentiment, while unavoidable and as intellectually and culturally diverse of an environment at here at Texas Tech, is in direct contest with academic freedom and the cultivation of truly educated students, and is aided by the proliferation of firearms on Texas Tech campus. I acknowledge and respect the plethora of difficulties this issue poses TTU administration. Nevertheless, I implore the President's office to take as many measures as necessary to restrict the carry of firearms in high-traffic areas on campus and classrooms. Failure to do so will be in direct contradiction with the university's mission of teaching, creative scholarship, and service. Most of all, however, it will be a failure to protect the students, faculty, and staff of this university.
My name is David Mesplay. I'm a non-traditional student. I have a few remarks. First of all, I understand the concerns for safety that this law seeks to address. I do find it very interesting that the legal age for the student who can carry legally under this bill is 21. And I think I know the reason for that, because in America we have the right to a high school education until our 21st birthday. I don't think that any of the legislators who put this bill together would seriously consider arming 18, 19, and 20-year-old high school students, given the history of our recent high school shootings. Additionally, I have personal experience in this matter. One of my students was shot and killed at the Aurora Theater in Colorado. Additionally, my colleague, Patty Nielsen, was shot in the shoulder at Columbine by Harrison Klebold. This attack came out of the blue, and she was totally surprised. She ducked into the school library, called 911 from a landline from inside of a cabinet. The library, if you don't know, is where almost everybody was murdered. Patty witnessed every single murder. Had she had a handgun with her, she would have been killed because she was already wounded, and she would have been outgunned by those two young men who were disaffected students. So, my thoughts here is that while there may have been an intent here to make people safe, that Patty Nielsen, who you can hear on the 911 tapes pleading for 4.5 hours for relief from the police, would not agree that this is a good idea, nor would it solve her PTSD and the 5 years she lost to teaching from that incident. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Nelson Rushton. I'm a faculty member in computer science, and I have a question for you. And the question is, how much do you value freedom? Now, that might seem like an abstract question, but it's actually very real and very relevant, because the value of freedom is exactly the distance between, on the one hand, I don't want people to do things, and on the other hand, I want to take away their freedom to do them. We don't ban everything that makes us uncomfortable. We don't even ban everything that's dangerous. Drinking beer till you pass out, perfectly legal. Why? Why do we allow that? It's because freedom is valuable. And because freedom is valuable, before we ban something or make it illegal, we want to know that it's not just a bad idea, but that we cannot afford to trust people to make their own decisions about it, and that the cost of allowing them to make those decisions for themselves would be so grave that it outweighs the cost of depriving them of that liberty. And that cost is real, because freedom is valuable. That much we probably agree on. What we do not agree on, and sometimes we disagree passionately about, is how valuable is freedom. We don't begin the conversation talking about that, and that's too bad, because we wind up speaking past each other. The value of freedom sets the terms of this debate. It establishes the burden of proof. How severe must the possible consequences be of allowing someone to do something, and how certain must we be that those consequences will actually occur before we take it on ourselves to deprive them of the liberty to do it? So whether we agree or disagree about that, we can at least start on the same page if we begin the conversation with everyone addressing the question out loud: how much do you value freedom? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Michael Wormstein. I'm currently a chemical engineering senior, and I'm a gun owner. I would like to start by saying that the possibility of students assaulting each other or teachers is real, and it has happened before. It could happen again. However, doing so is already illegal. It is already illegal to carry an unlicensed handgun on this campus, and it will continue to be. Anyone in this room could be carrying a handgun. I currently have a rubber chicken under my jacket, and you didn't know it. The point is that it is already illegal for me to carry a handgun because I'm unlicensed. If we restrict where license holders may hold handguns, we are not restricting people illegally carrying handguns any further than we currently are. There is no practical limitation to where guns can be on this campus. As somebody already pointed out, there may be hundreds at this point already. I bring this up because if we are going to establish gun-free zones, we're not establishing zones where there are not guns. We are establishing zones where responsible, licensed people may not carry guns. We're not restricting students who are already going to illegally carry guns and students who are already going to intentionally try and hurt people. Those people are irrational, and they are violent and dangerous. Are we going to take guns away from the responsible, licensed, educated people who are skillful in the use of their firearms and have passed the CHL class? Those people have an opportunity to protect the unarmed and to protect themselves from the violent people who are already illegally carrying guns. We must ask ourselves, does giving the opportunity for a CHL holder to stop violent crime, is that opportunity not worth it? Because the illegal people who are illegally carrying guns will do so anyway, and we cannot stop them. Guns up.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is George Stern, and I am a senior journalism student. And I'd like to go ahead and pose 3 questions, if I may. And it's going off of the basis that this law will be enacted. First question. Thinking of this concealed carry as a policy, what protocols exist at Texas Tech, or what protocols will be developed for actual security personnel, the police department here, to know in an active shooter situation that may involve multiple heroic concealed carriers, who's the good guy and who's the bad guy? And I ask this question in full knowledge that any form of registration of gun carriers is very much anathema to the spirit of this kind of law. But when a police officer walks into a situation and there are multiple people shooting, multiple people at risk, how will they know who is the good guy, who's the bad guy, who to shoot, who not to shoot? That's question 1. Second question, what kind of program will Texas Tech have to train concealed carriers in what you guys have already called the peculiar or unique environment that is a university campus? And I ask this question simply to try and get us a bit out of this mindset of cops and robbers. It's not just good guy, bad guy, everybody has gun. No. You guys know what a typical day at Tech can be. It can be middle schoolers walking by, people with disabilities, people in wheelchairs, deafblind people such as myself. So, what kind of program is going to get people trained to where they know how to handle all of the moving elements that could be in any active shooter situation? That's my second question. And I think that's a signal for time, so I'm going to stop. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Abigail Swingen. I teach in the history department, and I just want to say a couple of quick things. I understand the law is the law, and Texas Tech is trying to figure out how to best implement the law as it stands for now. And I just wanted to register my opinion, my position on that, in that I strongly encourage the President's office to consider making classrooms of all sizes as well as offices free from concealed carry. I view it, as some of other speakers have already said, as a direct infringement on university policies regarding academic freedom. I also deeply worry about the student body on this campus and their safety. I worry less about disgruntled students attacking me, although maybe I should, but I worry more about accidents, suicides, that sort of thing. Thank you very much.
I'm Justin Hart. I also teach in the history department, and we teach controversial subjects. We teach slavery, we teach the civil rights movement, we teach wars, I teach U.S. foreign policy, and discussions get heated. They often get heated. And I think the idea that there are good guys with guns, and they are the license holders, and bad guys with guns, and they are the ones who are already set on breaking laws, is a fallacy. I think that sometimes the people who seem to be responsible gun owners have the risk of turning into irresponsible gun owners when passions get high. And I would agree that the primary risk is to students with accidents and suicides. I don't worry about a mass shooting any more than I already would. But I would just encourage the administration, the key word that I heard earlier was reasonable. And that seems to me that there's a great deal of latitude in terms of the way the President's office will define this, and I would encourage them to define it in such a way that pushes the envelope, and that means no classrooms, and that means no offices. Thank you.
My name's Catherine Franklin. I'm also a professor in the history department. I'm a 12-year veteran, as it were, of the United States Army Reserve, still serving. I have never been deployed, but my older brother and my younger brother are both combat veterans who have shot at people and killed people and been shot at. They and every other combat veteran I know, and I'm talking about dozens of men, mostly men, every single one of them avers that a CHL holder having a weapon in a classroom will not make anybody any safer. In fact, in order to make people safer, in order to employ lethal force in an extremely stressful situation, you have to have an enormous amount of experience, either being a policeman or somebody who's been through Army infantry training, been overseas, been deployed. Long story short, the 4 to 6 mandatory hours of training that CHL holders get does not qualify them to take down an active shooter in a crowded classroom or lecture hall. I, along with my colleagues, would encourage the President's office and everyone involved in campus carry policies to figure out a way to make classrooms safer, to figure out a way to make offices safer. Thank you.
My name is Francesca Di Poppa, and I'm a professor in the philosophy department. I have been here since 2006. I would like to share the worry that my colleagues from the history department have just expressed, mainly the notion that someone who has been through a few hours training in order to get a concealed carry permit is going to be able to tackle an armed shooter in the classroom. Like my colleagues before me, I encourage the university to rule out admitting concealed weapons in classrooms and faculty offices where that would really stand in the way of the kind of open discussion that is such a necessary part of education in general, in particular in philosophy classrooms where we discuss issues such as abortion, euthanasia, the existence or non-existence of God, issues that students have very, very strong opinions about. Thank you.
My name is Roger Landis. I'm a professor of practice at the School of Music. I teach the popular history of rock and roll course to over 600 students a semester, 450 of those in a face-to-face class. I'd like to start with a question for the faculty members here, my colleagues, but also to the task force and to the provost. My question is this, and you can answer it by a raise of hands. How many of you have been subjected to a death threat? I'm sorry that we share that. How many of you have been subjected to a death threat during class? Looks like I have okay, 2. Via social media. Okay, I think I have that honor. I have, and the threat involved the use specifically of a firearm. I will provide copies of my evidence to this to the committee so they can look at it. The threat reads, and I quote, and I'm going to give a language warning here. Professor Landis is a dick. I'm going to shoot him in the fucking face. During class on social media. So I asked the provost and the task force respectfully, how do you propose to keep me and my 450 students safe in my class in the face of such threats? The state legislature's answer for me and my students, at least those who are 21 and over, is to obtain licenses and bring guns to class. For me, that's not an acceptable answer. I will not carry a gun. But what about my students who are 18 to 20 and ineligible to obtain licenses? Leaving their safety to secretly armed volunteers is not acceptable either. If the concern were really about safety, there are other ways to achieve that without resorting to secret concealed weapons implemented only on a voluntary and age discriminatory basis. This shows that the purpose of the law is not self-protection or safety, but politics. Thank you.
Hello everybody, I'm Andreas Nuber. I'm a professor in electrical engineering. I'm also a first-generation immigrant from Europe, and I love this country. I've been here since '96. I love the United States, and I love the freedom that comes with it. And freedom comes at a price. You can't be safe. You cannot have absolute safety when you're free. If you're an animal in a cage, okay, and you got your everybody giving you the food and everything, then yes, you can be safe, but you're not free, okay? Having said that, it is more, for me, it's very clear that a sign at the door saying this is a gun-free zone has not stopped anybody. I can see the argument that some of the colleagues made that, you know, in the heat of the moment, somebody has a gun, may pull out the gun, but no, we need to trust more in the people, we need to trust in the decision-making of our folks. If we tell everybody, we make a bunch of rules and tell everybody you have to behave this way, you have to do this, you have to do that, that's not going to work. At some points, folks will snap if you put pressure on it, and it doesn't have to be a concealed handgun license. You go, you buy a gun anywhere, anytime, and the people who want to do damage, it doesn't matter how. And the folks who get a CHL, at least they make an effort to protect themselves and to protect others. I myself am a CHL holder. I'm also a former Army, German Army actually, and I train specifically for situations that may arise here on campus. Thank you.
On July 20th, 2012, a mass shooting occurred inside of the Century 16 movie theater in Aurora, Colorado, during a screening of the film The Dark Knight Rises. Trying to get into the mindset of a madman is hard to do, but there's one thing that is clear in his thought process. He had the intent to kill, and he chose his target carefully. There were 7 theaters within 20 minutes of his house, and the one he chose to massacre was not the biggest, it was not the closest. It was the only theater in that area that legally prohibited the licensed carrying of handguns. When it comes to the effort of trying to protect our fellow Red Raiders from tragedies such as this, there seems to be a prevailing idea. Gun-free zones add safety. I'm going to show why this is not true and why the converse is true. If you take a random student walking across campus, you point to a sign that says no guns and ask them why, the conversation will go like this. Well, it's to make the campus safer. But how does it do that? Well, guns are unsafe. We don't want them here. It's true, if the sign was always obeyed, a measure of safety would be added to the campus. However, this is not some magical sign that sets bad people on fire whenever they disobey it. It is simply a sign. Only good guys will obey the law and disarm. If all it took was a reminder that a law was being broken, then active shooter defense training would be nothing more than yelling, "Murder is illegal," through a megaphone. I'm going to list a couple of recent national tragedies. Virginia Tech, Columbine High School, Fort Hood Army Base, Washington Navy Yard, Fort Hood Army Base again, Aurora Movie Theater, Sandy Hook Elementary School, Charleston, South Carolina, Oregon Community College, Lafayette, Louisiana. All of these places were gun-free zones, with the Oregon Community College being a gun-free zone despite state law. Since at least 1950, all but 2 non-gang-related mass shootings in America have taken place where general citizens are banned from carrying guns. When a sociopath hurts a Red Raider, what will you say to them when their family member asks, "Why did you prevent them from carrying?" I will end this on a question for you. This is already a gun-free zone. Why were none of us searched for firearms? Thank you.
Some people say they are frightened by the prospect of other law-abiding citizens being armed, claiming that it will impose on others' right of academic freedom. People are also frightened of swimming beside a whale shark and even to sleep in the dark by themselves as children. But whale sharks and sleeping in the dark pose no danger, and once you have done them a few times, you're a more mature and developed person through letting go of one of your unfounded childhood fears. Part of this worry is that some professors might be afraid to issue bad grades if they know that students could be carrying guns. But why should professors be afraid of issuing bad grades to law-abiding students who are trained, tested, carefully vetted license holders secretly carrying a gun legally, when they are already issuing bad grades to students who could be secretly carrying guns illegally? If you are someone who is frightened by the prospect of other law-abiding citizens being armed, have you tried to find out if there has really been a chilling effect on free speech where legal concealed weapons are carried, or are you focusing on your knee-jerk childhood fears? Licensed concealed carry is already permitted without incident in the legislative chambers of the Texas State Capitol, where dozens of the 181 members of the State House and Senate have concealed carry permits and routinely have their weapons with them in the building, performing duties such as attending hearings and observing testimony. But instead of speculating on similar situations, we can look at the historical data on over 150 college campuses where concealed carry is currently allowed. During the more than 1,500 cumulative semesters it has been allowed, licensed concealed carry has yet to turn a debate, a grade discrepancy, or a demonstration into a shootout. With this availability of data on currently implemented campus concealed carry, why do we continue to entertain these arguments based on nothing but unfounded childhood fears?
What is worse than allowing an execution-style massacre to continue uncontested? How could any action with the potential to stop or slow a deranged killer intent on slaughtering victim after victim be considered worse than allowing the killer to continue undeterred? Contrary to what the movies might have us believe, most real-world shootouts last less than 10 seconds. Even the real gunfight at the OK Corral, a shootout involving 9 armed participants and bystanders, lasted only about 30 seconds and resulted in only 3 fatalities, none of which were bystanders. It is unlikely that an exchange of gunfire between an armed assailant and an armed citizen would last more than a couple seconds before one or both parties were disabled. Even if it lasted the full 10 seconds, how could 10 seconds of people shooting at each other possibly be worse than 10 seconds of an assailant walking up to victims and shooting them in the head at point-blank range as occurred at Virginia Tech? On January 16, 2002, at the Appalachian School of Law, a former student shot and killed Dean Anthony Sutton, Professor Thomas Blackwell, Angela Dells, and wounded 3 other students. The rampage was ended when the gunman was confronted by 2 students after they received their personal handguns from their vehicles. The 2 heroes lost valuable response time accessing their handguns because of the law school standing as a gun-free zone. Did this supposed gun-free zone stop the gunman? No, the gun-free zone only restricted law-abiding individuals from protecting themselves and saving lives. Concealed handgun carriers have successfully prevented or curtailed several other mass shootings, including Pearl Junior High School, Parker Middle School, the Players Bar and Grill, and the New Life Church in Colorado Springs. But y'all haven't heard of any of these. College campuses are open environments. You do not have controlled points of entry manned with guards and metal detectors. A person concerned with following the rules can walk onto a college campus carrying a backpack full of guns just as easily as I can carry books. Regardless of how any particular individual may feel about the issue, laws must be based on facts, not feelings. Feeling safe or unsafe is not the same as being safe or unsafe. These policies should be based on the fact that we have 1,500 cumulative semesters on over 150 campuses nationwide.
Hi, my name is Shad Holt. I'm a researcher in electrical engineering. We've heard it from both sides today. We've heard a lot of emotional outcries, and people have lost loved ones and friends to firearm violence. But I think, can we get a show of hands of who's lost friends and family to automobile accidents? I mean, are we discussing removing cars from campus right now? No, because it's not an emotional hot topic that handguns are. It's a partisan divide. It really is not built on logic. It's built on emotion. And gun laws built on laws period built on emotion tend to be bad laws. They should be built on logic. And so let me frame this. I'm a concealed handgun holder. I carry every day up until I get to the parking lot. I leave my gun in the car. I walk inside. If I forget well, time's up. No, that's fine. Oh, 1 minute. Okay. I was like, that was quick. So I leave my gun in my car. I walk inside. And one day I forget to put it in the car. I've just made myself a felon, or at least a very high-level misdemeanor. And should we have laws that really punish people for just forgetting something? They have no malintent. They did everything that was legal up until the moment that at 6 o'clock in the morning, they forgot to take something out of their pocket. And, I mean, should I go to jail for that? I don't know.
My name's Austin. I'm a veteran of the Iraq War, which I hate with everything in me. And I like to stick with practical realities. There's this definition going around of a gun-free zone. It's kind of a bureaucratic sticker that they put on things. The reality of a gun-free zone is it has walls, barbed wire, it has checkpoints, it has guards, it has ID checks, the list goes on. Metal detectors, whatever you like, whatever helps. Texas Tech Security does not know what I have in my backpack, so calling this a gun-free zone is a little insulting to me. If you're not going to let me protect myself, and you're not going to do anything real about it, you know, I think we know what the answer is here. I think we need to stick with a practical reality. Well, we need bouncers at the door. Appreciate your experience, sir.
There is no such thing as a gun-free zone. When someone goes to shoot up a place, they don't read a no guns allowed sign and turn around and go home. In fact, those no guns allowed signs are part of the problem. Concealed handgun license holders are the law-abiding citizens who go through classes, have background checks run on them, get their fingerprints taken, and have a long waiting period before they get that license in the mail. These are people who choose to exercise their Second Amendment right to bear arms in order to protect themselves and others in the event that their life or someone else's life is in danger. No, there is no such thing as a gun-free zone. Whether they should really be called is a sitting duck zone or a helpless victim zone. Just take a look at our country's recent history. The majority of mass shootings that occur are happening in gun-free zones. The Crime Prevention Research Center has recently found that 92% of mass public shootings between January 2009 and July 2014 took place in gun-free zones. This is no coincidence. Like he mentioned earlier about the Aurora, Colorado movie theater shooting, 12 innocent people dead, 58 wounded. He chose the theater that doesn't allow guns. It makes me wonder how many lives could have been saved had CHL holders been there with their legally carried firearms. I've heard people say, I don't like the idea of people being able to have guns on campus. What if someone gets angry, pulls out their gun, and starts shooting people? To that I say, let's hope a CHL holder is there to defend himself and others. And to that you might say, let's just let the police handle things. But when a bullet travels even faster than the speed of sound, do you really think they'll be able to get there in time to prevent any damage? As the saying goes, when seconds count, the cops are just minutes away. If someone doesn't want to be licensed to carry a handgun, that's totally okay, and I respect that. It's their right to choose not to. At the same time, however, I should have the right to choose to arm and protect myself, and that's everywhere on campus. I love Texas Tech, and I'm proud to be a Red Raider, and I would hate nothing more, to see our university fall under that 92%. Thank you.
Hello. First of all, I'd like to thank the university for hosting this forum. I think it's a great idea. So I have a few bullet points. At this time, I do not wish to express support or opposition for this new law. I do wish to express full-hearted support for responsibility. When pursuing an undergraduate degree at the University of Miami, I had the privilege of working with Dr. Amishi Jha, who is at the forefront of the field of contemplative neuroscience. The Jha Lab has worked with the United States military with a study called mindfulness-based attention training. There is a substantial and growing body of evidence to support the efficacy of mindfulness training in increasing the space between stimulus and response. This space is the essence of the ability to choose. It's the essence of responsibility. On any side of the question, supporting or opposing this new law, surely we can all agree that we have a duty to promote responsibility. I urge President Nellis to explore ways of offering and ideally requiring mindfulness training for all registered gun owners, if not also for every member of the Texas Tech community. Thank you.
Has the administration considered how they will accommodate students, staff, and faculty who are in such emotional distress over this, that their teaching is impaired and their ability to learn is impaired by this law? The Texas Tech would like to become a Tier 1 institution. It would also like to increase its enrollment significantly. Will there be a time when faculty, students, and alumni cease to recruit students to this campus because of this decision?
Hello, my name is Justin Ferries. I'm a mechanical engineering major. Let me propose two scenarios to you, and you're going to decide which is worse. Let's just say we're in class. I'm in class. You're either my classmate or my teacher. Doesn't matter which. In both scenarios, the worst thing that can happen happens. Somebody walks in with a gun, starts shooting people. Now, would you rather, A, all of us be unarmed and get executed one by one, or would you rather me have my concealed carry weapon, pull it out, and return fire and try to neutralize that threat? Which one is worse in your mind? I tell you what I would rather have happen. I'd rather have the ability to defend my life and myself as opposed to just sit there and get executed. But you decide for yourself which one's worse.
My name is Bernadette Russo. It's my first semester as a Red Raider. Thank you. On October 30th, 2010, I was teaching at Sam Houston State University. Last class of the afternoon on a Friday. There were 3 classes in session. We concluded. I sent my students out. 10 minutes later, they come flying back in. Miss Russo, the police are shutting down the campus. There's an armed shooter. We took cover, and I secured the room. I have law enforcement and correctional experience. We waited. I positioned myself to charge the door if someone came through. I had 2 people on either side of me, both football players ready. Someone tried the door, and at that moment I prayed for my weapon. I prayed I had a gun. Luckily, thank God, after multiple words went out that different people had been killed and blah, 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 blah. Turns out it had been the drama department practicing for Halloween. What happened, though, on Monday, my entire class had to go through debriefing trauma therapy. And one girl came to me. She was not in the room when we had locked down. She said, "Professor, why did you do that to me?" I said, "Why did I do what?" She said, "I was locked out of the room. I tried the door and it was locked. Had I had my weapon, I would have shot. She would be dead, an innocent person. This is just turning us into vigilantes. You are not trained for combat situations. Maybe the gentleman that was up here that's a veteran, God bless him, yes. But the rest of us, no. People are actually shooting. There's been on the news, people shot shoplifters the other day because they had a concealed carry and they were trying to help. It is the West, but we're not supposed to be vigilantes. There's a law enforcement for a reason. And if we worked more to stop the reason why people are bringing guns to school and wanting to kill others, we might have a safer environment than trying to add more guns to the mix. Thank you.
My name is Rick Shoup. I'm a staff member here at Tech. I'm a doctoral student, and I'm also a police officer. I have been for about 35 years. Over the course of time, I've found that this world is not a friendly place anymore. The manner that most of us grew up, we were safe and secure. 911 changed it, Columbine changed it, and all these tragedies have changed the way that we live and we think today. Safety and security is a perception. Open carry, I can't agree with it. But all the years that I've been training police officers how to shoot, as well as civilians all the way down to the age of children, we teach them the respect and how to use the weapons. What we've seen across the country in terms of CHLs and states that allow or do not restrict the use of firearms, or the statistics are showing that there's a lower crime rate. Well, the biggest problem that we have in terms of the concealed carry, and the question is, how do we deal with something that happens when police response is only 10 or 15 minutes away? The average shooting and the average active shooters take place in less than 10 minutes. Average police response time is around 16 or 17. Granted, we've got police here on campus, but if somebody comes in, starts shooting in a classroom, there's no way they can stop it. So I ask you, and I'm sure the point's been driven home quite a few times, that would we rather have somebody in class that is well trained? And yes, 4.5 hours isn't enough, but most of the people that are carrying concealed weapons have additional training beyond that. If we go to the case of Gabriella Gifford in Arizona, one of her staff members was carrying a weapon the day that the gentleman opened up. He didn't use it. Thank you.
How's everybody doing? Howdy. I'd just like to share a bit of information that was made known to me probably about a couple months ago. Earlier this year, outside of Juarez, Mexico, there was a camp that had been discovered and infiltrated by, I don't know if it was FBI or the Federales or who, but this camp was created by a group, as we know, called ISIS. And what they were doing there were training individuals for attacks on the U.S. And amongst the documents that they had found in this camp was a targeted list of universities in the region. Now, whether we oppose or for what the state has decided to start implementing through their process, we're all in this boat together. You know, we are all at this university together, and the truth is that our country is being targeted, and so are universities. It's becoming a very dangerous time to be alive. You know, we're coming on, 200 plus years of this country being around, and if we don't take an active step in preserving it, I believe that we can lose it.
Hello, I'm a professor from the College of Architecture, and this is a true story that happened here in campus. My story is about religion, fanaticism, and carrying weapons. I had a student in my class that wasn't attending really well his lessons, his class, was working, always looking at the computer and browsing how to fabricate bombs, explosives. He was wearing military uniform, and he started questioning me. He had a Bible on his desk, and he had questioned me as well about ethics and my profession, and I answered him what I believe was ethical and so. The next day, there was a book in my desk whose name is Bullshit. After that, I went to the office of students as well, to the dean of students, and I told them that I was a little bit kind of scared about the whole story. I also kind of told the other students to be aware and to always be checking at this student, which was kind of like acting in that way. Anyway, they placed secret police kind of to look at this guy and wander around there and so on. And I decided kind of to check his Facebook page, and I found that he was a member of a religious organization, a fanatical religious organization in East Texas. His father was the owner of that organization, in which the main topic was kill those ones who do not obey the Bible. Anyway, after that, a couple of days later, of course, I talked to my deans and my associate deans about this story, and my associate dean called me and asked me to turn the TV on and watch on Fox Channel. And there was this student with a carton on his belt and demonstrating in favor of this law that we just have passed now about carrying weapons and being able and eligible to carry weapons. He was demonstrating on that. And even worse than that, maybe 1 month later, I found him in the office advising students and getting kind of his advice to students. Thank you.
My name is Elizabeth Farley Dawson, and I'm a graduate student here at the university in my 5th year. I taught here for 4 years. I'm not currently teaching this year. I really want to just bring to the university's attention that currently graduate teaching assistants I don't know about faculty and staff, perhaps they get this sort of training, but graduate teaching assistants have no training in how to deal with any sort of explosive situation in their classroom, and this is already before we allow guns on campus. I worry as an instructor that there may be a situation in which somebody is angry, and rather than throwing a punch, they might pull out their weapon. Granted, CHL holders are supposed to have training to avoid this sort of situation, but I want to know what the university plans to do about training not just faculty and staff, but don't forget that your graduate students are also teaching a large number of your undergraduate students as well. Thank you.
My name is James Price. I'm a veteran of the Iraq War, and I'm also the president of Lubbock's chapter, Open Carry, Texas. And I do agree on campus carry for a couple reasons. One, how many of y'all realize that you can actually carry on campus but not go inside of buildings? And how many shootings have happened, and how many CHL owners have killed somebody? Thank you. And another thing is, everyone realizes Texas Tech is a very dark campus. And females, like my wife, you traveling across campus, the blue lights, they're very far separated. So a woman should be able to protect herself if a sexual assault should happen. And also, moving on to the Oregon Community College shooting. How many of you realize that a veteran shot 7 times tried to stop the shooting? Imagine if he would have had a firearm, how many lives he could have saved. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Bowles, and I'm an opinion driver for the Daily Torador, a couple other things. I'm also a veteran submarine mechanic from the U.S. Navy. And a couple of things. One, first I'd like everybody to get a hand to the Texas Tech Campus Carry Task Force for giving us this opportunity to have this open forum and being able to voice our dissenting opinions in the true spirit of what a college experience should be. Because we should be celebrating dissenting opinions. We should be looking at all these different viewpoints, examining each other's views, not in the spirit of he's wrong and I'm right, but that what do they have to offer to bring to the table? What perspective do they have that I don't? And I think that's what some people here may be missing. Some people here may not want to have their paradigms, their perceptions challenged, but that is exactly the purpose of a college campus. And honestly, that's why I came to Texas Tech and didn't go to some other university, because it was my understanding that this was a place where open minds were celebrated and dissenting opinions were valued for their novelty. A couple of things I'd like to point out. The national police weapon violation rate is 0.02%. The Florida CHL revocations due to violations is 0.008% for their entirety, while that 0.02% was an annual rate. So you're actually having less CHL holders with weapons violations than police officers as a general standard. Another thing a lot of people don't realize, there was a SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States ruling in 2005 that police do not have a constitutional duty to protect people. It's one major thing a lot of people aren't aware of. There was a Washington Post article on October 3rd by Eugene Volokh that gave a couple of examples of concealed carry holders actually saving people's lives. One was a Chicago Uber driver, stopped a man firing on a crowd of people. Another example was a Philadelphia barber shop that was also shooting was also stopped by a CHL holder. And just two more last statistics. From recent government data, less than 0.00004% of all guns in the U.S. are used in homicides, and Washington, D.C., which has some of the strictest gun regulation laws in the entire country, has the lowest gun ownership as of 2007 at 3.6% and the highest gun murder rate as of 2010. The issue here is that so many people are using the appeal to emotion fallacy, the straw man fallacy, false cause, black or white. We're promoting these logical fallacies in an area of knowledge and learning where we should be valuing dissenting opinions instead of looking at things on the factual basis and examining what each other has to bring to the table and discussing how we can implement these things in a safe manner. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank you all for this opportunity and thank all of the veterans and the first responders that have showed up here today. I am a 19-year-old undergrad student here at Texas Tech University. I am in my second year. I am not a CHL owner because I'm 19 years old. However, I've known since I was 13 that I've wanted to get it. I've been educated in guns since I don't even remember. Like, I remember the first time I ever went hunting with my dad or hunting with my mom or my brother, and I'm not afraid of guns. However, I am afraid of people who aren't educated about them, and I am afraid that somebody one day will come not legally carrying and will make a choice that will affect my life. And I would like to be able to protect myself, protect my friends, protect my classmates, protect my teacher if I have to. But I do have some questions. Am I going to have to tell my professor on the first day of class, "Hi, I'm involved with athletics, my name's Megan White, and I also carry a gun to your class," when I do have my CHL? Is that going to affect my education because my professor doesn't believe in guns? Or is it going to affect me in any way? Like, am I not going to be able to go to the library because, oh, today I have my gun with me? Is it going to, like, am I going to have to wear a certain color shirt or anything like that? Or is there something, as my teacher sees on his roster, that says, hey, here's her R number, here's her birthday, and, oh, she has a CHL? And what happens if my professor refuses to teach me because I legally have a firearm and I'm legally carrying it? And how is it going to affect my education when others aren't educated in gun safety? Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Emil Zhiltsov. I'm an engineering student from Russia, so pardon my accent. First of all, thank you. I'm very glad that we're actually having a conversation about the issue and not just assuming there are no firearms on campus. Previous speaker made a pretty good example with a rubber chicken in his jacket. Just proves that there's no way to prove and to say who may or may not be bringing dangerous, inherently dangerous objects to school. And I'm a CHL holder. And when I'm having the conversations with my fellow students and some faculty members about the issue, I often hear the people who are against it are always referring to school, as university as an area where that's dedicated for learning and not for guns. We should have more textbooks and less guns in school. But so I'm thinking to myself, so is a shopping mall is a place for peaceful shopping, and a sidewalk is a place for peaceful walking, not for guns. But yet bad things happen, and we all know that mass shootings are on the rise, and we may discuss what makes those people do such things. But if the bottom line is, if a person wants to go do some harm to fellow people, he will basically, as practice shows right now, he's almost guaranteed to kill at least somebody. We may try to establish some methods to minimize the damage, but somehow when I'm walking down the sidewalk or going to a shopping mall, I'm, as a CHL holder, trusted not to lose my mind and randomly start shooting people. But when I cross the University Avenue, somehow I'm like, oh, now I'm dangerous. I may just get angry about my F that I've got on my engineering test and just start blasting away and have negligent discharges here and there. And well, that's not happening in the real world. The world is a stressful environment. I mean, I wouldn't say that school is definitely a stressful part of my life. It's not the most stressful part of my life. I mean, my girlfriend can break up with me. I can get rear-ended on my way to work. I mean, the stress is everywhere, and I'm not having negligent discharges and blasting guns. Also, people saying that having the guns in classroom will not change anything. Well, just because you are not familiar with guns, just because you cannot hit a broadside of the barn from the inside with one, doesn't mean that I cannot protect myself with a firearm. And just because, well, thank you very much for your time.
I'm a 20-year-old second-year architecture student here at this college, and what I'd like to say is that as this amendment stands, I believe that it is completely inadequate. This amendment is allowing concealed carry holders to carry on campus, but I believe that the concealed carry license is not strict enough. I know my grandma, she announced to us 4 years ago, she is actually mentally disabled, and she announced 4 years ago that she got her concealed carry license successfully, and she had a pistol. We promptly took the pistol away from her because she was not mentally capable to have a pistol, but you are allowing concealed carry holders of all kinds. I'm saying most of them are good. They are good people and they are smart, but there are those few people that don't know how to react in a situation like this. And I think that this amendment it's not strict enough. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Prince, and I'm a 21-year-old senior political science major here at Tech. And first of all, I'd like to thank the task force for offering an open discourse on this subject that brings up a lot of emotion and a lot of discourse. And I hope we have more in the future. Now, at the very founding of this nation, Patrick Henry, before the Revolution, stood up in front of a group of people who were unsure about whether or not we would be safe if we engaged in a conflict with Great Britain. And he said, "I don't know what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death." What happened to a nation founded on that principle? Why am I hearing the fear of people saying, "I don't know if I can trust liberty"? This feeling is the very antithesis of what this country was founded upon. And the fact that we are on a campus where one of our mottos is fearless, and yet we are going about with these irrational fears of a tool is asinine to me when I think about it logically, as a logical human being, and also a liberty-loving human being, which is what we all should be.
Hi, I'm Jared Strange with the College of Visual and Performing Arts. I also want to thank the Campus Carry Task Force for having us. I think something that all of us can agree on is that this is a place of education, and I think that, and I've mentioned this to the provost before and into the VP of Research, that at the very least the university can take this as an opportunity to make campus carry legislation, to make gun ownership, responsible or otherwise, a major research concern. If we have to have this kind of legislation, if we have to have this kind of question, the least we can do is make it a priority to discuss it. I think anyone, whether whatever side that they fall on, and I've had the pleasure of standing out in the plaza today discussing with people who come from all sides of this argument, I think one thing we can all agree on is that we need to have more knowledge going into this. There are many studies out there saying any number of things. We can draw conclusions that more guns does not increase safety. We can draw conclusions that CHL holders are very unlikely to commit crimes. That's correct. We need to make this kind of information as available as possible, particularly when it comes to possibly handling weapons in the classroom. Every teacher needs to know what to expect from a weapon, from a weapons holder, how to handle it if a situation does arise. Every student needs to know what to expect from CHL holders, what to expect when there's an incident. God willing, there isn't. Every administrator needs to know, every staff member needs to know. We have to make education about guns essentially, about gun users essentially, about gun violence essentially a major priority if this is going to become, and it is going to become, a reality for us.
Let me thank you for your comments and for the respectful manner in which you listen to each other. I've taken note of the questions that have been asked, and we'll go back and review all of the comments that were made. And we will address those questions on the website for Campus Carry. Also, we will be posting the results of the survey. I don't believe they've been posted yet. I have those results and we're reviewing them. I'll share them with the task force. But that information will be released as well. So at this point, we're still going through a process of hearing your thoughts, collecting this information. Then ultimately, there will be more discourse on probably what I'll confer with the task force, but as we prepare our response to the president, I suspect that at those focus groups, it'll be a more interactive experience. So again, I want to thank you. I appreciate very much what you've done today. And by the way, I apologize, I never introduced myself. I'm Lawrence Skuvanek, the provost. So I don't want anybody sending notes thinking the president was standing up here. It's me. Thank you very much.